Hey everybody, welcome back to Tech Odyssey. So I'm here today to talk about something important involving your Samsung phone, and this affects the S22 series, the S21 series, the S20, and the S10. This is a big deal because basically Geekbench is delisting, removing them off of their benchmarks, the S22, S21, and S20 and S10 series phones. And why are they doing that? Because Samsung is intentionally using their game optimization service inside of the phone to throttle apps and games. So this is something that exists outside the traditional benchmark. So if you run a benchmark, it's not going to necessarily pop up on this, but when you have the games running, you have this game optimization service or certain apps, it kicks in and it throttles them. And the way it throttles them is not based off of the performance. It's based off of, well, just whatever, just the fact that it says game, whatever the identifier is in the optimization service. So if the performance of the game is causing a problem and it needs to throttle it so it behaves and runs properly, that's usually an okay thing to do. But whenever it's throttling it straight out of the gate for no reason, that's a problem because you're having a negative experience. You're having decreased performance in especially games like Genshin Impact and some other ones that were on there. But this is not just limited to games, it's also apps. And this is a big circular thing because a lot of people don't know. When you set up your Samsung phone and you go in, you're not getting the maximum processing speed on most apps already. So your phone is not running at 100%. And I've talked about this, especially in my battery saving mode. There are things that Samsung does straight out of the box to handicap your phone to make you think that you're getting better performance when in reality, you're not. For instance, most of the time, at least from my experience, whenever you transfer your settings over or set up a new S22 phone, the resolution is not on Quad HD+, it's on 1080p, Full HD+, which means it's not running on the max setting. You're going to get better battery life, and if you don't know better, you might think that that's how it's supposed to run. Also, straight out of the box, it may not be on 120 hertz. It may not be on the adaptive refresh rate. It's on the standard one, leading you to believe that your phone is operating the way it's supposed to, and it's not, which means you're getting better battery life and decreased performance, and you don't even realize it. But wait, there's more. Also, whenever you go in there, if you go into your battery settings and you go into processing speed, there are 3 different options. You have optimized, high, and maximum. Straight out of the box, it's on optimized. That means that it's going to throttle things, it's going to run things slower, it's not going to run them at 100% whenever you open them in the name of battery and power consumption. So, whenever you do that stuff, Samsung does that straight out of the gate. I find that very dishonest. But they go even further. They have their game optimization software, which of course is not just limited to games, it's going in and further throttling stuff. And see, normally, when it comes to processing speed settings, if you have it on optimized or on high and not maximum, it's not supposed to throttle your game performance. So you're led to believe you're getting the best game performance possible pretty much anytime you run them. You don't get a choice in this because of the game optimization service. So now, with their game optimization service, it's throttling it and for no reason, other than just to make it seem like it's not getting as hot and to get better battery. At least that's what we're led to believe. And this is not something that Samsung was upfront about. This is something that Geekbench discovered. They went in, they did testing, and they discovered it. And they did the same thing with OnePlus last year. OnePlus got their hand caught in the cookie jar, throttling a bunch of stuff. And OnePlus's throttling was so bad, it made their Snapdragon 888 processor run apps like Twitter on the same processing speed as a Snapdragon 765. Which is pretty significant change. You're paying for all this power and you're not getting it, and you're not getting a say-so, and they're not being upfront about it. OnePlus went so far as to make it where the benchmarking apps were not affected, so that way when Geekbench ran the benchmarks, it seemed like it was getting higher scores, but in reality, once you opened up other apps, you were not. This is a very similar situation with Samsung, and I find it very unethical. And I find it to be something, well, straight up lack of integrity. And I don't like that. And I'm not going to bash the phone. You likely wouldn't notice this anytime you use the phone. Maybe you might notice it if you're playing something like Genshin Impact and it seems like it's running choppy or laggy straight out of the box, and not waiting till it overheats. There are some games that do require a lot of performance. They really suck up the resources and can make your phone overheat and can make things kind of unpleasant and also seem like maybe they're not running right. So, straight out of the gate, Samsung is doing this. They're not even basing it off of the software performance. They're just basing it off of the fact that the software exists and maybe it's a game or maybe it's some sort of high-performance software. I don't even know the extent of what apps that it's working on that it's doing this, but it is some, I think, underhanded throttling that they're doing, And the whole lack of transparency is what really gets me. And the whole thing with this new processor, we're supposed to have better AI, better machine learning. This is not AI and machine learning. This is straight up programming that identifies apps and arbitrarily throttles them to make you seem like you're getting better performance. Because what do most people pay attention to? 2 or 3 frames per second, 5 or 10 frames per second, or the fact that their battery is draining quickly and their phone is getting hot. That's what most people notice. So I guess they think they can just skim some frames per second off the top, and most people won't care or notice, and they think that they're getting better battery life, when in reality it's because they slap a governor on there, a software-based governor that impacts the performance of your phone and how you play your games and use your apps, and you don't know it, you're none the wiser. And that's where it gets me. If they gave you an option, if they had a setting in there where you could turn this on and turn it off, and they say, look, you will get much better battery performance if you do X. Okay, that's a choice. I'm not paying $1,200 so Samsung can have their little puppeteer strings on my phone controlling how I use it and making it seem like I'm getting better performance when I'm not, at the cost of my experience, whether you can notice that or not. And it doesn't matter whether you can notice it. There are going to be people that say this is arbitrary. I don't know why people are making a big deal about this. You can't even tell the difference. That's not the argument. It's a principle argument, but even beyond principle, it actually does show that there is a degraded performance in playing certain games. So it's not negligible. If it were negligible, okay, maybe we could have some sort of an argument saying, does it really matter? It's still running basically as fast as it's supposed to. But when it actually negatively impacts the software experience, and they're not transparent about it, and it exists outside of the benchmarking apps, that to me says lack of integrity. That to me says it's misleading, and that's something that I can't get jiggy with. Do I still think it's a good phone? Yes. Do I think it should be cause not to go buy a phone? No, I think they're still very good phones, but the ramifications are here that, one, it tarnishes their reputation. It makes you look at them differently because then you wonder what else are they doing. And then on top of that, you have 4 years. 4 years of Samsung flagship phones that are being delisted from Geekbench. So they're being banned for 4 years. And it doesn't matter if they fix it. They could come back and fix it. The policy Geekbench has is, sorry, you're never coming back on here again. Try again with the next phone. And I think that's fair because that's like basically performance enhancing drugs in the Olympics. Even if they don't even matter. There are sometimes you get people in the Olympics or people in sports and it might be some heart medication. It might be something else that's really immaterial. But this is more than immaterial. This is material because it actually has been proven and shown by Geekbench to impact the performance. So regardless of whether it even did or not, it's still wrong. It's still bad behavior. And again, I think the phone's good. I've used all these phones. I've used the S10, I've used the S20, I've used the S21, I've used the S22. I think they're fantastic phones. But I can't get behind what Samsung is doing here. And I think this should be highlighted. And I think that they should be called out for cheating, which is what Geekbench has done. I don't want to blow this out of proportion. I just want to call it out for what it is. Say, Samsung, this is wrong. Don't do this. And of course, their response is they're going to have an option where you can toggle this on or off at some point in the future. I'm sure sometime the next month it'll come out and they'll go, okay, guys, we fixed it. Life is good now. Again, you probably aren't even noticing any difference on your apps. It's just principle. And the thing is, I'm glad there are people out there like Geekbench who pay attention to this stuff, who go out there and advocate on our behalf, because otherwise the manufacturers would be pulling a fast one over on us and we wouldn't even know it. Or we might know it and then we wouldn't know what to do about it. So thankfully these guys exist. They're like the watchdog for these brands. They test out the phones when they come out, and it seems like they have to go outside of their normal testing because these companies are trying to spoof them and they're trying to give false benchmarks. OnePlus has been caught doing it. Samsung's been caught doing it. I guess we'll see who's next. But anyway, I had to bring this to you guys to let you know so you have an idea what's going on, so you can make informed decisions and so you can understand what's going on with the hardware that you paid your hard-earned money for. Because if we don't have a system of advocates, then what do we have? We have a bunch of phones that are made by manufacturers who think they can just pull one over on us because we don't know any better. So thank goodness again for benchmark. And again, a lot of people are like, who cares? Benchmarks don't matter. Benchmarks, abstractly, without context, okay, if you get an 800,000 score or an 810,000 score, probably not much of a difference. But whenever they especially go outside the realm of their normal testing and they look at the individual metrics for certain apps and see how they're performing, that is very relevant. That is what happened here, and that's how Samsung got caught. So that's all I've got in this video. What do you think? Do you think that Samsung should be penalized for this? Do you think that their reputation should be tarnished? Or is this one of those things where like, okay, everybody does it, who cares? I can't tell a difference at all on my phone. It doesn't impact me, so obviously it doesn't matter, right? That's not the presentation that I want to give here. That's not the opinion that I want people to have. I don't think you should go out and try and burn down Samsung. I don't think that we should go out there and throw them under the bus. They make very good hardware. This is arguably the best Samsung phone ever made, but they do need to be reined in. They do need people to watch them and watch everyone else, and that's why we have these advocates out there who test and see what these phones are doing and how they're behaving, because you have brands that want to try and pull fast ones, and we've seen it multiple times. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave those down in the comment section. I'll get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.